Okay. So I just want to say thank you for everyone watching right now and attending. We are having a slight technical difficulty, so we had to change platforms, but I would like to welcome everyone to Books Galore and Creator Core, our event where we get to meet the authors and speak with them about their writing process and their journey. We have a few events coming up on July 6th. We will have another Books Galore with some new content creators that we will be interviewing. On the 13th, we will have probably some artists. And on the 20th, we're having our bi monthly content creator showcase. So that's going to be exciting. So I would just like to thank author Jennifer JC Plaza for joining us today. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is JC Plaza, and I'm the author of the Legend of Lake Sangre series and Smart Little Mouse, and you're an author of The Art of Crafting You.
Okay, so I would just like for you, before we get started, show your book. Your cover is absolutely stunning.
Absolutely. I have the books in the window back here. I don't know if you can see the cover over
Mhm.
there.
I don't know if you saw how I created a book video for your reel. I was in love with your book cover. I really was.
Thank you.
And so I made a little book reel for it. I don't know if you saw it.
I did. I saw that today. I love it. It is so cute. Summer's
So,
winking.
so why don't you tell us, how long have you been writing?
I have been writing for 20 years, mostly academic. Um,
Okay.
the Legend of Lake Sangre I wrote 20 years ago, and it was published in 2023.
Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that process? Like, what inspired you to write that story?
Actually, it's kind of funny. I was bedridden when I was pregnant, and I was unhappy with a current novel and how it ended. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to try writing my own.
There you go.
And I started exploring different creatures from folklore and myths that I had read about when I was a child, because I used to go to the library and look up encyclopedias of cryptozoology, magic. I was obsessed with Anne Rice and the Vampire Chronicles, so that was a huge inspiration. And The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen. That has
Okay.
always stuck with me. That's a big influence.
Okay. So was there like I hate to use the word trigger because it usually has a negative sort of connotation to it, but what was the moment or the situation or the environment that inspired the character, the main character?
Actually, the loss of my sister.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
Um,
actually a trigger. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, that's okay. It has been 35 years, and but the opening of The Legend of Lake Sangre is actually a scene from what happened to me. And it was a way of getting that out. And then it developed into a story. And one of the things that I didn't like about the novel that I was reading was that it didn't have the romantic element that I was looking for. And I wanted to tie in the romance with the healing process, because the
Right,
main character goes through a process of mental healing.
right,
Yeah, so it's a vampire story, but it's not as gothic as most.
right.
It's more about the main character, who is not a vampire, going through this emotional roller coaster of life, and talking about how she felt when she was 17, and how she feels now as a 30-year-old woman. So yeah,
Okay. So
the
then the
cheat.
story itself has a lot of emotion and passion from your own personal experience woven
Yes.
into the tale.
Mhm.
Wow. That actually that makes me actually want to go and grab it like even more.
Thank you.
I personally love stories that are sort of brought out of personal experience. It makes you feel sort of like you're living the author's story also. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long did it take to write?
um 2 years. And Until 2023, no one outside of my family had read it. And I'm a ghostwriter for a publishing house. And the person who does all of the layout has a boutique agency, and she's a professional publisher as well. Um, and she had her own publishing company before we worked together at this establishment. And we were in a writers group together. She read parts of the book and she's like, Jen, please let me publish this book. And that's Dana Bree at Stone Bear Publishing. And I have to tell you, she fell in love with the story and she was like, I need to do this. And so we did. And it came out in 2023. She was the first person to read the book cover to cover outside of my family.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then the publishing company also created your book cover for you.
Yes.
Okay.
She's a Emmy award-winning graphic artist.
Yes, I can tell. I can tell. So you said that you're a ghostwriter. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay. I write nonfiction, narrative fiction, celebrity memoirs. Um, and I've been working with three publishers, Stone Bear Publishing. Uh, I met Dana, who owns Stone Bear Publishing, through the previous two publishers. The one I'm with right now is Mark Victor Hansen Libraries. And I've published over 20 books as a ghostwriter. And I have 3 books under my own, and I'm currently working on 5.
Okay, okay. So you've been so was La Sa- it's called La Sangre, right?
The Legend of Lake Sangre. Mhm,
Legend of Lake Sangre.
mhm.
So you wrote that just a few years ago. Was that your first personal novel that you written?
Yes.
But
Mm,
you've been writing for 20 years.
yes, academic
So
writing mainly.
right. So how does it feel to switch from, ghost writing to writing your own novel? Like, is the experience different? Is the feeling different?
It's very different because, when I'm writing for clients, I have to go into a psychological analysis of what they are as a person, to the public and who they are behind the scenes. And I have to put that together to create um, a piece that is going to be identifiable as that person. And they need to be able to claim that as their own and say, yeah, that's my voice. Oh, yeah, that's me. I've written novels for clients that have cash management firms or are lawyers, real estate professionals. Um, and they have this great story to tell and they don't know how to get it out there. They have the bones but they don't know how to flesh it out. Or sometimes they don't even have the bones, they're just like, I have a message, and I have to really dig into who they are before I can create something for them. Me, I know what I like,
Right.
and it's like, okay, I'm going to write the first chapter. I'm going to write the last chapter. What do I want to have to, well, how are we going to get there? What kind of characters are going to come about? And then I let the characters take me where I want to go. And then
Right.
that's it. That's my creation. So it's a lot less work for myself.
I was just going to say that. The first one sounds like work. The second one sounds like play.
Mhm.
And so it sounds like you were able to not just sort of bring up your own personal experience, but experience joy with that as well.
Yes, yes, yes. The Legend of Lake Sangre Summer's Rain is the first book. I have 8 completed works. I'm in the editing stage for book 2, which is Summer's Plight. And it just goes on so that people can learn more about Summer's heritage, because it's about a young woman who finds her heritage in an enchanted cemetery. And it turns out that it's a preternatural sanctuary. I'm not giving away any spoilers. It's everywhere that it's a preternatural sanctuary. It's my slogan. Who wouldn't want to live in a preternatural sanctuary? Because
Right.
it saves everybody. And she just, she develops these relationships with all of these creatures, these beings. She starts becoming that friend that sits on your couch and drinks tea and is just talking to you, and you're like, oh my gosh, why did you make that choice? Why did you say that? That kind of thing. That's Summer. And it goes through the series.
Okay. Wow. So, if you uh, if you had the choice to do it again, would you have started writing your own personal works sooner, or would you just keep it just the way you've done it?
I would keep it the way I did it. Yeah, the timing was right. And I was 31 when I started writing, and Summer's 30. So it was my mindset at the time, sort of.
That makes sense. So, is there going to be a sequel?
Yes, it's coming out this fall. Summer's Plate.
Okay. So personal question: is it on Kindle? Is it on audio?
It is
Oh,
on
I don't
Kindle. It's not on audio, but the Kindle will read it out loud.
know. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been
Okay.
having a few snafus with getting it on audiobook because I have multiple languages in there. All of my
Oh,
creatures are from around the world. So I have Icelandic, I have Spanish, and a lot of French. Eventually, it comes into Japanese, Portuguese, because we have kitsune, we have um, werewolves and vampires and talking gargoyles. Um, we have the crocatas. The crocatas are my favorite creature. They come out in book one. It's a wolf dog hybrid, but I took them on and made them my own because I love playing around with cryptozoology.
so wait. So are you saying that there are different languages within the book?
Yes.
Oh, well,
Mhm.
that's what you said. Different, like Portuguese and what else did you say?
Icelandic.
Icelandic.
Icelandic. Yes.
So that is going
So,
to be a challenge to translate.
yeah.
Because at first I
The,
thought you were saying that you were trying to translate to different audiences, and I was like, well, me first.
no, I purposely went in and made it so that you don't have to speak the language to understand it. It's either in context or it is in English directly after. So you don't have to speak Icelandic, you don't have to speak anything. You can,
Right,
you don't even have to pronounce the names correctly.
right, right,
It's okay. Like I have Guillaume. A lot of people call him Gualame or the G Man because they don't know how to say Guillaume, and I'm okay with that.
right,
you know,
right. Well, when it comes out on audio, I would love to have it. I don't know if you've seen those little cinematic audiobooks, the ones where you can hear everything. Like you can hear them walking, you can hear explosions, you can hear
really,
wind and water. Oh, yeah, those are amazing. I love
I will
those.
have to look at that.
And
Yeah.
okay. Well, so I would love for us to, I'm going to bring on the next author. And
Mhm.
when we come back, if you could get a copy of your book to show
Sure.
us
Sure.
right before we join the panel. So I'm
Okay.
going to bring on the next author now.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi. So,
Hello, Kay.
everyone, this is author Johanna. I would like to thank you for joining us today. You look beautiful. How are you doing? Tell us
Thank
a
you for
little bit about
inviting me. Um, so, yes, I am Johanna Vendel. I am born and raised in South Africa, and I started to write my books when I was 46 years old after losing my entire family of six people: my mom, dad, three sisters, and my brother. And that is what inspired me to write my first book.
you. Okay. Wow. It seems like a, a lot of pain and probably personal stress and tragedy went into writing that. What was that like? Like just trying to get the words on paper.
It was very difficult because before that, I started to write songs. And then I kind of on Facebook announced every time when I lost someone, I announced, I'm going to miss my mom, or I'm going to miss my sister, or my brother, or my dad, and another lady that I was on a group with actually kind of forced my hand a little bit because I was always writing. But then she saw my story and said, would you like to maybe write something for my magazine? Because we're always looking for inspirational stories. And I see that you've gone through quite a lot of tragedy in your life. And if you don't mind sharing your story of hope, and that kind of made me want to write about my family because before that, I haven't lost my entire family, and I didn't really um, like I did. I've always said I think I want to write a book one day about all my stories. And when she told me she wanted a little story, because I'm also not English, and for me to write in English is going to take a lot more effort than to get the correct words than in my own language. And I said, okay, well, I will write the story. So I wrote just a 3-page short story about my family members. And after that, I did not know that there were going to be an award session where the stories was going to win awards and things like that. And I then won an award for Women of Strength um, for my story in that magazine. And that completely inspired me in a way to say, you know what, my my story wasn't too bad, and there was a lot of people that was reading it, and I got so many compliments back, and they said that you should elaborate and write a book about all these stories because they would want to know what happened. Um, and that is what inspired me to write my first book. And I heard that you said to show your book, so I'll just show
Yes.
my book now. This is Life Think Again, which I just published in May of last year. And I've won an International Impact Book Award for this in February. And in February, so this is the story of my life and my autobiography of my family members. And because I went through so much grief and did not know how to handle it at a stage because I was in different stages of grief with each and every one, because you just get better and then boom, you lose someone else, and boom, you lose someone else. And I mean, my mom, dad, 3 sisters, and my brother. It was like from 2016 till 2020, I lost my 2 sisters and lost brother. So that was like just so much on top of me. And I was like always somewhere in a stage of grief.
Right.
And after I wrote my first book, I then decided, this is maybe something that there are people that need to know, maybe how do you cope through so many losses at once. It's only God's will that I am actually still alive, because there was a stage where I thought I just cannot handle all this depression and anxiety and stress and grief that has been laid upon me. And after my first book, I had so much more courage to live. And
Right.
I wrote my second book, Navigating Through Losses and Grief, Think Again, where you navigate through the different stages of grief. And then it's 4 years basically since I've lost everybody. And because I am new in America, I don't really have a lot of friends that keeps me busy with this or that. So I do have a lot of time for writing, and I have been healing quite a lot in my life now in this last 4 years.
Uh-huh.
I have Also started a grief podcast where I interview people on my podcast. And if you do have a story to tell from your books and you have lost someone special in your life and you want to incorporate your book and everything in my podcast, you are very welcome to contact me to be on my podcast. And then I just published my third book on Monday that has just passed, and I just received my proof book. Um,
Congratulations.
and this one is called Unseen Tears Beneath the Mask. Because I was grieving for almost 27 years since I've lost my dad, my twin sister, my mom, big sister, little sister, and then my brother. I have literally been wearing a mask for 27 years. And after writing my three books now and starting with my podcast, winning my awards, and I will be representing my books in October on the Hollywood stage, red carpet. And I am like, uh, it just motivates me a little bit more to want to live my life to the fullest. So this book, I am removing my mask, and this is what people are going to see from now on is going to be me.
That is such a powerful story. You're gonna make me like I'm trying not
This
to
last book is really a
cheer
very,
on.
very inspirational book.
Okay, so you'll have to excuse me. I tend to carry people's emotions.
Oh,
Um, so, don't start. Oh no, where's tissue? Why don't you tell us a little bit about your podcast?
yeah. So my podcast is called Give Me Hope with Joanna. It is platformed on Bold Brave Television. It runs through Bold Brave Television, but it is on all different major platforms that you can think of. If you have Spotify, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, iHeartRadio, 20 different major platforms. If you just Google Give Me Hope with Joanna on Bold Brave Television, then you will find my podcast. And like I say, it is an inspirational podcast where I interview people who has lost people in their lives, but want to come tell their story and how they have overcome their grief and their journey and how they have started to maybe write a book or open a business or whatever they did to uplift, because there are so many broken people out there in this world that needs to hear our stories,
Right,
because they need this push to also just say, if that person can do it, maybe
right,
I can do it. It is all about inspirational stories and just giving hope to the people out there. So
right.
I am here to live a long life. I've already asked God that He must just save me so I can grow old. I just want to grow old and be a grandmother and just be happy.
There you go. So I want to read some of the comments because I believe that they're addressing you. Brighton's Review Hub says, "Hi, I came across your Facebook page and felt truly inspired. It's amazing to see someone embrace writing as a career. Your passion for storytelling shines through your work, and it takes courage and heart to share your words with the world. Your creativity and dedication are deeply appreciated. Writers like you make a real impact in people's lives. Thank you for choosing to share your gift with us." And then they ask if your book is listed on Amazon and if you could share your Amazon book link. So when you get the chance, if you could put your book link, both you guys, both authors,
Sure.
uh,
Oh, thank you.
guys, book link
That's
in
so
the
nice.
and then
That's
another
nice
person
to
on
hear that.
YouTube, this person's name is Spider Bacon, says hello. So there you go. So, just just hearing about the way you wrote your autobiography and your experience with the grieving process, what type of advice do you give to people who are, who have lost someone and are in the grieving process as they, as they sort of move through that whole experience?
I can just say that the thing that helped me through it was God. Because, when sometimes there are so many people around us that wants to be there for us, and they've already said, I'm so sorry for your loss, and my condolences. But there's only that much they can say. And then the funeral happen, and people think that you should just be okay. But then you sit on your couch or you're at home lying in your bed, and your pillow is collecting all your tears, and you have not got that people to speak to. So by the end of the day, the only person that could really hear me was God. And having God in my life, I have like been so inspired to live, because eventually you have to realize what God has given you in your life. He's given me 4 children. He has given me a husband who really loves me. But even though I have all of that, sometimes I still feel so alone. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that can resonate with this. You've got so many people knowing you, but eventually you feel so alone. So the only person that can take that loneliness away is God. And I personally say, you know, keep telling your story. Yes, I had a little bit of tears now because I never know what people think of my story. But by the end of the day, it is to inspire those people out there with your story. Don't stop sharing your story, because by speaking about your loved ones constantly, you definitely start to heal, because you should not forget your loved ones ever. You should not stop speaking about your loved ones ever. They were a part of your life, and you need to live with the feelings that goes through your body and your mind. So by the end of the day, start sharing your stories. And I know that there's a lot of different religions out there. Every one of us have our own God that we believe in, and just put that person in your life. Me, I am a Christian, so I believe in God, and just by having him in my life, I must say he has healed my broken heart quite a lot. Sometimes it opens up when I have to share my story, because I have been getting used to people telling their stories to me. I don't share my story very often, and I'm very grateful for Kay to have me on her podcast today, so that I can share a little bit of my story as well, and introduce my books to the world, because here I'm in America, no friends, no family, and who buys your books first is your friends and your family. And if they bought it, then nobody knows about your book if other people don't start to share your story and start to read your book and start to talk to their friends about your book. So it's all about, if you love a book that you have ever written, go onto Facebook, go onto YouTube, or wherever you are on, and go tell people out there, have you heard about Kay's book, or have you heard about Johanna's book? It is the most amazing book I've ever read. And that is how we as authors can help each other.
Right,
That's just how I think.
right. I totally agree with that. Okay, so here's what I would like to do next. I would like to bring author JC Plaza back, and then we can sort of have a panel and
Sure.
discuss. Hi.
Hi.
So,
Hello,
author
JC.
JC, this is Johanna. Johanna, this is JC.
Nice to meet you.
Pleased to meet you.
So, one thing that I would like us to sort of put on the table and sort of hash out and discuss is like the writing process. Like, how difficult is it to move from writing to editing? And give us your little,
You can
experience.
go first.
Okay. Um, for editing, uh, I think it's easier for me to add words, add content, flesh things out. Um, once I go through, um, it's harder to cut. And I like to save all those things that I cut and sneak them into other stories, or use them for some other projects. Um, so rather than killing my little darlings, I save them for later. But yeah, with editing, I like to go through, flesh things out, see if I have, the five senses within each chapter. You know, am I making the opening of a chapter um, easy for somebody to put down my book and pick it up a month or two later and, start where they left off, but give them something at the beginning. Because when you're writing the book, you don't think about that. You're just trying to get that story down. So that's where I go. I developed the story, and then when I go through for like consistency, that's a different edit. Like I had to do at least 50 edits to the Legend of Lake Sangre series Summer's Rain. Not kidding.
I mean, editing is honestly never ending because every time you go through, there's some typo missing, there's a comma missing, it doesn't stop.
Right.
That is so true.
Yeah. But you can't do it
So,
all at once. You have to separate them. You have to have a purpose for that particular edit.
right.
Yeah,
So before I forget, did you grab your book?
I have it right here.
There you go.
Wow, that
Here's the
is
back.
beautiful.
And that's the hardcover, right?
Yes.
Very pretty. Okay, what about you, author Johanna?
So, because I am not English, and I know sometimes that my spelling can be quite not good, the way I do it is when I start to write a story, I take my phone, I open it up on Word, I press the mic, and I speak my thoughts out on the Word document, which then spell everything correctly for me. And now this is also the way I maybe translate directly from my brain into English. So it's very raw. Then after I have everything, I then will kind of go on to my writing, my Calpul or something like that, Microsoft 360, where I take everything I say and I want to say, and I say improve my grammar, improve my words, for instance, because I will maybe say, oh, that is nice, but someone else will say that is marvelous, you know, something like that. I'm in the country now for 9 years already, so my English have improved quite a lot since I've written these books. If you read my very first book, Life, Think Again, you will realize that this is a very raw and directly translated book. In the meantime, I have I after I've written this book, I actually send it to an editor, and she kind of said, okay, so what we need to do is get a little bit of American English in this book, because I would, for instance, say, I made myself a slice of bread or something like that. And then my daughter was the very first one that read my story, and she's 23 now. She's like, Mommy, instead of saying I made myself some bread, maybe you should say I made myself a sandwich. Small little things like that. So that's how I just started out very, very raw because I was not an author. I wasn't a writer. And specifically because I'm not English, it is it's harder to even think, oh my word, what if I make a mistake? What if people see all my mistakes? So that was my process. And now, after writing my very first book and after writing my third book, you should read the differences between those two books and see how I was broken, how I was healed up, but also the kind of words that I have started to learn about, that I started to use so much more descriptional words, because when you are not English, you try to use the most basic word that you can get out in a translation form.
Mhm.
But then what I also do is to make sure sometimes that my books are reading nicely. I kind of put it on audio, like on the review on Word, and you go onto the review, you say read out loud. So then I don't look at the words at all. I close my eyes. I listen to this computer reading my work back to me.
Mhm.
And although I am not English and I hear someone say the wrong word, because I learned how to speak English, I can hear if people say you and me or me and her. That's wrong. It's you and I, for instance. I can pick that up immediately. My brain picks things up like that if I then have written something the wrong way. If I hear my own writing back, it for me that works very well to listen to my own writing, and then after I'm very happy with it, I let my whole family read through it, hear it, and then I send it into the editors and proofreaders.
I actually like that idea of listening to your own work. What I used to do before, like this was way back in like 2011, 2012, before they had all the AI stuff, right? So I would basically send my document of my story to Kindle. And then, the
Wow.
Kindle had to read aloud. So then I would
Yes.
listen to it on Kindle. But then, it gets to the part where you're done writing and you're like, oh, I didn't write that part yet. So that part isn't because it's stuck. But
Yes.
you're right. It does help with the editing process because I'm like, that doesn't sound right. And this doesn't sound right. And that sounds really stupid. Why did I write that?
See,
Yeah.
that is exactly, you immediately like, oh my word, that doesn't even rhyme or go together. Or why did I write that first before this? Because then you
Right.
realize, oh, maybe I should have this because this happened before this. And then you like, boom, boom, switch it over. And then you like, just start from the beginning again.
Yep.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's
So
a
you're
long
right.
process. Yeah, my first book was a very, very difficult book to write, and also going through the emotional trauma every time when someone die and what they've been through. To write through that, the emotions. I promise you, there was a time where I was writing everything or speaking my writing out, and the tears was just rolling down my cheeks because I am the emotions, it just all comes back, of that specific moment. And there was like a time after my dad and my twin sister died, I then got a divorce. After my divorce in 97, I was stuck. And many times, if I will speak about dates or something, I will always go 1997. Meantime, we're already in 2007. It's like my brain was stuck there for a while. But till I wrote my book, my brain moved on. I couldn't go past that. And I asked someone, how do you get past if you are at a block where you just cannot write further? And someone gave me this advice because it was so emotional for me, that first few little bit of writing, especially after losing my twin sister. Don't read your work before you start to write again. Because I every time was reading my work so that I could pick up where was I again. Your brain knows where you were. So don't read that again. Move on from there, write your story further, and then when you go and edit it, you will realize that your emotion that you were struggling with will go past that because all of a sudden you have something more to read. And now you can start to edit all of these on the top again where you were stuck. That is how I got through it. And it was difficult. It was really difficult to write this book.
That is a really good piece of advice, actually,
Mm.
because I've had that problem where I'll be reading back over my work and I'll get to like a plot hole and then my brain will freeze and I won't be able to get past that plot hole. So you're right. Instead of reading that plot hole again, just keep writing and then go back because now you have
See, because
something.
in the meantime, your brain does know, I want to write this and this and this with the story now. But if you keep on reading what you have written that you got stuck with, you're gonna not remember what you actually wanted to write because it was so emotional, for instance.
Right,
So yeah,
right.
that's just how I do it. Maybe I thought I just do this stupid simple things because I am not English.
And honestly, I think that and I would love for JC to step in and because she has so many years of writing and especially like with the ghostwriting process. But like
Mhm.
I feel like sort of brainstorming with other writers and authors can bring in fresh blood, so to
Yeah,
speak, and fresh ideas.
it can. And I write a lot of large works, and it would be impossible to start from the beginning and keep reading and going. So I take a lot of notes. I have extensive outlines, and I change the outlines as I go. I mean, my, I don't do an outline to say that this has to be the end all. Once I start the book, maybe it doesn't work out the way I had intended, but I have to make, notes so that I know where to pick up, especially because I work on several books at once.
Right, right.
Mm.
I have 5 or 6 right now, and I have to have every story in my head, and I can't go back and read each one. And taking notes is like one of the integral parts of doing that. And,
Right.
it's excellent advice, Joanna, to, you know, pick up where you left off because you can always go back and edit. You can always
Right.
go back.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Just get those words out.
Right. Right. It's really interesting because I had been thinking, I was wondering what type of tools that you guys use. I had been trying to remember this one particular tool that I've been using for years, and I couldn't remember until they like spam emailed me today. And that was the first spam I was actually happy to get because I've been trying to remember what they were called. But there's this app called Scrivener, and I've used it for to write several of my works. So I didn't know like what type of tools do you guys use, or do you suggest for any other writers out there?
I
Go ahead.
can I use Microsoft Word for all of my manuscripts, and then I take them and I put them through Pro Writing Aid. And Pro Writing Aid will give me suggestions or catch things like double spaces after a period. Um, it'll give me alternate words if I should want to do a different word choice. It'll pick up clauses, passive phrases, and many I keep, some I don't. But I can edit the whole thing through Pro Rating Aid.
Okay. Okay.
Nice.
And
I
then I,
also started, sorry, I also started off on docs and then I like, no, this is not working for me. So I started off with Microsoft Word as well and just copy paste everything onto Microsoft Word and it went much easier than the previous with docs. I think I just love Word.
yeah,
Sorry, my computer unplugged itself. That would have been a disaster. So, like when if you had to give the audience or one of your readers like a piece of sort of your own thoughts about what you have written, like what would you want the reader to sort of focus on as they're reading your work?
You can go.
you sure? Okay. Um, I want them to focus on the the growth, the the things that are usually unspoken, um, the thoughts that are in other people's heads, and maybe not looking at what society wants to put on, you know, put have your societal face, your public face. Um, know that it's okay to think things and question yourself and question all the quote unquote norms that people have put on you. Um, the character in The Legend of Lake Sangre is a complex character, and she's an adult and she puts herself into some uncanny situations, but she also argues for her mindset for certain things. Some of them have to do with the romanticy aspect because there are sexual situations in the book, but she doesn't do that. And she talks about that, and she talks about
Mhm.
why. And she is criticized for it. Um, she, is a woman in her own right, and she talks about having this wall and how dare these people break down that mental wall that she built after she was hurt by her family and losing her family and all this stuff. And it's done with vampires and werewolves and little foxes curled up on chaises. But even though you have those lighthearted elements, I want the readers to know that there's a message. There is.
So, your turn.
Good. So, the message that I want people to know about my books is when you read my first book, Life Think Again, um, you're definitely going to be drawn into that heartache that I've been through, and you're definitely going to maybe need a box of tissues next to you sometimes if you are someone who can live yourself into someone else's story, like I can do that. Um, and then what you must then take from it is not to feel sorry for me because I am going to be okay. Take from it that if I can do it, you can do it. And we are all on this earth for a reason. And we are here to inspire maybe not the person you think you want to inspire, but someone out there that needs that little bit of inspiration. So I have written my story so that you can be inspired to live your life to the fullest every single day, to love the people you have in your life. If you are not speaking to them at this moment, make right with them. Because when they're not there, and they can maybe not be there tomorrow, make right with them. Because today is the day that you have been given to make everything in your life right. So live every day to the fullest. And my last book is is about healing. Heal and removing that facade, that mask that you were also saying, JC. You know, we are wearing all of this every single day, this professional um, face that we are wearing every day. Sometimes we need to let people in. So this book is going to show you how to let people in, how to live to the fullest. It is an amazing story, not just because it is my book, but wow, it has surely helped me to think differently
Mhm.
There you
while
go.
writing it.
There you go. I wanted to make sure, are you guys both in CreatorCore, the group?
I am.
I think I don't know if I sent you to the invitation. It's basically a group where, authors, editors, content creators, artists can sort of network with each other in a safe space away from scam artists and scammers. If you're
I don't
interested,
think I am. Please send me the link.
yeah.
You can send
So
it to
I
me.
would love to invite the two of you back on a different date to actually read an excerpt, just like 2 or 3 minutes, not longer than that, from your stories.
Sure. Absolutely. I would love that.
Thank you. I would also love that.
So is there anything that you haven't like been able, like, because I can't think of all the questions. So if there's a question you wish I had asked you.
Um, I actually have something. When, especially because Johanna's talking about grief and dealing with death in the family and such, um, I think it's okay for authors to realize that you can change your story. I had my series started. I had the Legend of Lake Sangre Summer's Rain done, and I rewrote the entire ending after my dad passed away because in the subsequent books, I have a lot of advice from my dad, and I couldn't handle that. I had a lot of scenes with my dad, and I had to resolve that. So I wound up changing the whole end of Summer's Rain, which Summer's Rain has a lot of closure for me personally. And like I said, a lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, it's a vampire book. Oh, it's a romantasy. Oh, it has this. And I'm like, yeah, but you got to look at the main character and see what she's going through because it's a process. And some of the things that she says in the middle of the book when a friend passes away is kind of how people feel when they lose someone abruptly and they're like questioning why,
Right.
and it's okay to do that. It's okay to just let out that frustration and that grief and um, put it into the book. You can put it into the characters. You don't have to spill all the details if you don't want to, but you can put it out there and it can help you,
Yes,
and you
Right.
can change the
yes.
story and the path.
Right.
I also have 5 books that I'm working on, which is going to be fiction, which is going to be the stories of my loved ones, but in a fictional way, because there's a lot that happens behind the scenes that I didn't know what happened in their lives to bring a day like that, or something like that. So in my brain, I also need to kind of let it go in a way, and by writing this fictional story, I am writing the way it's going to end
Mhm.
Right.
and not how it ended, So I am busy working on that because now I'm done with autobiography and this and that about myself. Now I'm going to like start to write fictional books and murder mysteries and things like that. So I'm excited.
There you go. Yeah, one of the things that I have always, well, when I was a child, teachers would say, get your journal, write out your feelings. And I think that it's really important. I don't know if they do that in schools today. I don't think they do it as much as they did when I was a child. But it's very important for children and especially just adults to have a journal to write, because when you write out, whether you're writing out a daily journal or poetry or a story, you're able to sort of process through those darker emotions, through the pain. You can write that out and process it through on paper in a way that you might not be able to when you're speaking to other people who may or may not understand your experience. So
Yeah.
Yes. That's why I have Word on my phone. I have a nice flip phone that opens up into like my computer screen, basically, a nice tablet. And whenever I remember or want to write some notes, I just flip it open. I have one file that says inspirational quotes or words or inspiration of the day. So whenever I get an inspiration, I quickly open it, press my mic button, quickly speak all the words that I want to speak, or at the end of the day, I speak whatever. And by the end of the day, if you start to go read through all of that, because I mean, never know where a pen is. I never know where a clean piece of paper is, or who took my papers here again. So it's so nice to just open it up and all in that one file. Whenever you have a date, you put the date down and you just speak what your mind is saying and what you were thinking of and what you want to still write in this book on that. And then one time when you just sit and do nothing, you go through that and you will not believe it, but there can be a book out of that, little stories of everyday storytelling that you put in that journal, my in
Right,
that journal.
right.
I love Word.
So if either of you had like a piece of advice for young writers, for children, for teens, for young adults who, are learning the writing process or deciding that they want to write, like what type of advice would you give for them?
You can go first.
Okay. Um, don't worry about the rules. Just write a word, write a sentence, write your thoughts. If you have a story that you want to write about a rock that came to life, just write, I want to write a story about a rock that came to life and leave it. If you want to write something like an ending, just do it. If you don't know where it's going, it's okay. Write it anyway. Just do it. Don't worry about the rules. Rules can be followed later and
Right,
break them.
right,
So I'll say everything that JC said, and it doesn't matter what your situation is at this moment. It doesn't matter if you don't have a laptop or this or that. By the end of the day, it is the choices that you make in your life today that is going to take you to where you're going to be one day. Nobody else in your family or your situation will establish to what you will be one day or whatever will happen to you in your life one day. It is what you do about it today that is going to change your future. So start writing.
Hmm.
there you go, there you
So
go,
well said. That's perfect.
there you go. I just want to thank the two of you for coming on today. This has been so lovely. And I would like again to invite you guys back to read an excerpt from your work. Please make sure to post your links in the comments. There were some people watching who wanted your book links. So please make sure to post your links in the comments. I will be posting out the recorded live later through various groups on Facebook. So,
Mhm.
Perfect.
Amazon link is in the comments now.
oh, where'd she go? All right. Well,
You know,
I guess we can wrap it up. Thank you so much for coming, and I will definitely be in contact with you for next time.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I think I put my link in the comments. I'm not sure.
Uh,
Um,
maybe I don't
do you
see
see
it,
it?
but I'll probably see it, and I'll
No,
put it
it was
in.
in private chat. Sorry.
Oh,
No, I'm not really sure how to get it in there. Um, hmm. Is it on
so
YouTube?
let me sort of
Okay.
the let me sort of give like the following dates. On July, I think I said it in the beginning, July 6th, we will be having another Books Galore event. On July 13th, the Books Galore and Content Creator, but on the 20th, we're going to be having our bi-monthly Content Creator Showcase. It's where we bring on 3 or 4 or 5, however many want to pile on that day, and we have a huge panel afterwards. So that's going to be fun. So thank you again, and I
Mhm.
hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much for having me. And yes, you will. As long as you send me an invite. I love it. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Bye.
All right. Thank you again for watching. This has been Books Galore and Creator Core. You can find the link to Creator Core in the description of the live and on the post on the page. We are here weekly every Sunday, usually 3 p.m., between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. every Sunday. Next week, we will be inviting on some other content creators, artists, and authors to be interviewed, and so that you can see what your next new read is, what your next new favorite piece of art or music is. So please join us next week. Thank you and have a good Sunday.